Akira followed Rio down a winding staircase, deeper into the earth. Each step echoed in the narrow passage, the sound bouncing off the stone walls. The air grew colder, and Akira could feel the weight of the earth pressing down on them. The air grew heavy, damp, and the scent of dust and something ancient filled her nostrils. It was as if they were stepping back in time, into a place forgotten by the world above. They reached a large chamber where torches flickered, casting eerie shadows. The light danced on the walls, revealing carvings and symbols that hinted at a long-lost civilization. Weapons lined the walls, swords gleamed under a dusty coating, bows hung limply with arrows still in their quivers. Each weapon seemed to tell a story of battles fought and victories won. Strange artifacts sat on shelves, whispering untold stories. There were objects of all shapes and sizes, some glowing faintly, others covered in intricate designs. In the center, a stone pedestal held a shimmering crystal that pulsed with an inner light. It was mesmerizing, drawing Akira's gaze and filling her with a sense of wonder. Akira felt drawn to it. She reached out a hand, almost touching the crystal, feeling its energy radiate through the air.
What is this place? Her voice was filled with awe and curiosity.
Akira's voice echoed in the silence. Ryo smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. He had been here many times before, but it never lost its impact.
This, Akira, is where we fight for our world. His voice was solemn, carrying the weight of countless battles and sacrifices.
Fight? Fight who? Akira's confusion was evident, her mind racing with questions.
Rio sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. He knew this moment would come, but it didn't make it any easier.
We have much to discuss. His tone was serious, indicating the gravity of the situation. The fate of their world depended on what they would do next.
They sat by a crackling fire as Ryo spoke of an ancient conflict, a war between light and shadow. The flames danced, casting eerie shadows on their faces as if the past was coming alive in the present moment. He spoke of the Crimson Order, warriors who wielded the power of the ether, the life force of their world. These warriors were not just fighters. They were protectors, guardians of a delicate balance that held their world together. He spoke of the heart of ether, a powerful artifact broken into pieces and scattered. Each piece held immense power, and together they could either save or doom their world. He spoke of the Shadow Seekers, beings of darkness searching for the heart to plunge the world into chaos. These malevolent entities thrived in the shadows, their very existence a threat to the light. Akira listened, her mind reeling. The weight of the revelations was almost too much to bear, each word from Rio adding to the growing sense of dread within her.
The Shadow Seekers are real. Her voice trembled, a mix of fear and disbelief.
Akira whispered, fear gripping her heart. The stories she had heard as a child, the legends of darkness, were all true.
They are very real. Rio's voice was grave, his eyes reflecting the seriousness of the situation, and they are closing in on the heart. Every moment they drew closer, the danger to their world increased.
Akira felt a chill. It wasn't just the cold night air, it was the realization of the peril they were in. The weight of his words settled upon her. She knew that their lives would never be the same again. Her life, as she knew it, was over. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but it was a path she had to take. The heart, Akira breathed, her eyes drawn to the pulsing crystal.
Is that...
A piece of it, the first piece.
He led her to the pedestal. The crystal throbbed, its light intensifying. Akira reached out, drawn by an invisible force. As her fingers brushed its surface, a jolt shot through her. Visions flooded her mind. Battles raged. Warriors clad in crimson armor fought against shadowy figures. A woman with eyes like molten gold, wielding a sword of pure light. Then, darkness. Akira gasped, stumbling back. She looked at her hand, expecting to see a burn, but there was nothing, only a warmth that spread through her body, leaving a tingling sensation in its wake. A low growl echoed from the tunnel entrance.
They are here.
Ryo stiffened, his hand instinctively reaching for the sword strapped to his back. Shadows poured into the chamber. Twisted, grotesque figures with eyes that burned with malevolent hunger. They moved with unnatural speed, their claws bared, teeth gnashing.
Stay behind me!
He drew his sword. It hummed, the blade bursting into flames. The battle was swift, brutal. Ryo fought with the grace and fury of a cornered tiger, but there were too many. One of the creatures lunged at Akira, its claws slashed, tearing through her sleeve. Fear turned to icy resolve. She wouldn't be a victim. As the creature lunged again, Akira instinctively raised her hand, her heart pounding in her chest. She had no idea what she was doing, but something deep within her knew this was the only way to survive. A surge of energy erupted from her palm, throwing the creature back with a force she didn't know she possessed. The energy was wild, untamed, yet it felt like an extension of her very being. It hit the wall with a sickening thud, dissolving into shadows that seemed to writhe and scream before vanishing completely. The room fell silent, the echoes of the battle still ringing in her ears. Akira stared at her hand, stunned. She had never felt anything like this before. The power was intoxicating, yet terrifying. What had she become? The warmth from the crystal pulsed within her, a steady rhythm that matched her heartbeat. It was as if the crystal was alive, sharing its energy with her. She could feel the ether flowing through her veins like liquid fire. It was a sensation both exhilarating and overwhelming, filling her with a sense of purpose she had never known. Ryo, momentarily distracted by the display of power, was struck by a shadow seeker. The creature's claws raked across his side, sending him sprawling to the ground. He cried out, falling to one knee, clutching his side in pain. The sight of her friend hurt ignited a fire within Akira, a fire that burned hotter than the ether in her veins. Fury, raw and primal, surged within Akira. She could feel it building, a storm of emotions that demanded release. She wouldn't let them hurt him, not again. She wouldn't let them hurt him. With a determined glare, she stood her ground, her body radiating with newfound power. She was ready to protect those she cared about. She focused her will, channeling the ether with a precision she didn't know she had. The energy responded to her command, flowing through her like a river of light. Light blazed around her, pushing back the shadows that threatened to consume them. The darkness recoiled, unable to withstand the purity of her power. The air crackled with power, a tangible force that seemed to vibrate with her every heartbeat. It was as if the very fabric of reality was responding to her will. Akira was no longer a scared girl, unsure of her place in the world. She had found her strength, her purpose. She was transforming, becoming something more. She was a warrior, awakened, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, with the ether as her guide and her friends by her side. The remaining Shadow Seekers retreated, melting back into the darkness from whence they came. Ryo, leaning heavily on his sword, watched Akira with a mixture of pride and awe.
The heart has chosen. You are the last of the Crimson Order, Akira.
Akira looked at her hands, still buzzing with residual energy. The weight of his words settled upon her, heavy as a mountain. The fate of the world rested on her shoulders.
What do we do now?
She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ryo smiled, a glint in his eye.
Now we find the other pieces of the heart.